DG stood no chance against Happy Squad. I believe
that the fight could fall into their hands. And I think it's so crucial to talk about this because just now, as soon as one member from WG peeked out toward Evil Patrick, he puts in the damage. He moves out of the way to reposition himself. There's another player, there's Iya, coming in from that northern side. So, like it or not, that positioning is huge.
Yeah, not gonna lie as well that Evil Patrick's move was crucial towards them winning the fight earlier on. If he didn't do that, then they might still be in a standoff, like just facing each other. But because Evil Patrick, he went all the way behind, that's where they could collapse onto them. And that's how the fight ended. So now they can continue to loot. They're not in a rush to get into the circle because the initial drop spot of Palace is within the first circle. So they'll be fine for now. They can just take their time and probably pick a better spot later on once they're done looting.
Northern side circle, so a lot of teams are currently rotating into the circle as well. And I think for Forest, I mean, yeah, one player of Chihuahua finds one knock as well, but at the same time, you can always rely on Forest to just really shoot back here. But Chihuahua as well are just going to just drive by, not going to be an issue here. In fact, they're going to try and just quickly rush toward the other members of Forest Natural Gaming here. They're rushing into the area, but Kiss, oh my goodness, it's always going to be Kiss with that opening pickoff, finds Man quickly. Quick reposition as well, and he's trying to make sure that he's going to try and isolate his fights. Chihuahua close, has to pick up his teammates here, huge. And the same could be said about Forest here, but Baron is not able to. Somehow gets blown to smithereens as well as Trick somehow finds two here, playing inside of this compound, two perfect. And I have to say, this is a great change in pace as well for the rest of the team. Trick playing alone here as well. He's managed to isolate the fights. He knows where the other two members are. Finds Olympus, sprays the heck out of him, but Olympus as well should shoot. Takes in a lot of damage. No, doesn't know where the member of Forest Natural Gaming is! And Scappy from the inside of the compound finds him in the end. And somehow not able to hold on. It's Chihuahua that still wins it in the end here. That's huge.
That is huge. That is huge for a team at the number 16 to find this momentum. They collect all 4 points without losing a single player. And now they can continue on for the rest of the round. As a full squad, that is. The Expendables. Now close by with Daytrade Gaming. This is the number 2 and number 3 team against each other. The Expendables will be looking to eliminate Daytrade Gaming. At least they would take one close contender out.
The amount of fights happening toward the bridges. I'm talking about Yongcheon. I'm talking about the southern bridge as well. A lot of teams looking to be the trolls that collect the toll. That's Happy right now. Daytrade having a hard time trying to rotate onto that island itself. So not going to be the easiest situations to be in. Iya finds one pick off here. It's going to be Duke that gets knocked down instead. The rest of Daytrade hunkering down, still staying fairly quiet if you ask me, but you still have to worry about picking up your teammate here. And in a situation like that where you're out there in the open, your teammate's rotating to you, as soon as you show yourself to go for that pickup, it might spell death if you ask me.
Yeah, so you gotta be extra careful. Just like what E-Arena is doing right now, using the glider to scout Sharper Esports, Thunders, tapping away, so at least that will give a signal to E-Arena that, hey, we're here, don't come close. And so far for Sharper Esports, no one else is around them. They are pretty clear right now. They can take their time to stay as long as possible, at least for this phase.
X-Men this time around, it feels like a little bit of deja vu right now in terms of positioning. They have found a great area to hold there toward the northern side. They have a terrain in their favor, and they're all the way up north, which means that they're not going to have to worry about anyone rotating toward them. So they're terrain completely in their hands. In fact, they can put in a bit of pressure to the teams rotating downside. And I think E-Arena is currently in the brunt of that pressure. But the amount of teams that are currently already in the middle side here, we have a sort of like Mexican standoff, or rather a stalemate maybe by DCM, by AGG. So no team's fully committed to these fights as well. It's all about just that waiting game, trying to find where the circle pulls before they finally commit to these fights. And it should be happening very, very soon here. But again, it's X-Men. I mean, if they play their games right, their cards right, we could be seeing like a repeat of map 1 where all they had to do was just hunker down and wait for the right time. But it depends. There we go. X-Men should still be fairly good right now.
Another northern circle. Very good for X-Men if you ask me. Like, most of the other teams on the south, again, it's going to be the same formula as what we saw in the previous 2 rounds. It's going to be a lot of fights on the southern side, but E Arena, they're making a quick move up onto high ground, and X-Men is on the other side. And if E Arena can lock in the high ground just outside of Wolsong, that will be a perfect spot for them to overlook at the teams.
Look at Larix. He's already found himself all the way up onto that compound where X-Men are. In fact, he's still putting in a lot of pressure onto them as well. This is so interesting. Just look at these feet. Noren's so close by. This 2-2 formation, that says a lot about what they expect to see in terms of firepower, in terms of how they play here from E Arena. Because they're not going as a 4 to take away that space away from X-Men now. At the same time, over on the southern side there, I think the other 2 members of E Arena has been quite quiet, if you ask me. They're just trying to wait for anyone to rotate over. And Larix, I think this high ground, this glider has given him a lot of value as well, just to kind of scout out in terms of positions. And we were just talking about how happy was the gatekeeper here from that bridge. Now they're in trouble. T5 and AGG has managed to find them.
Yeah, and Sharper Esports, time for them to move. Looks like they're finding the next checkpoint right now. Another team on the southern side is going to be T5. Still clear. Still a lot of space for them to play with. Looks like they waited for all the other teams to move further forward before they come in. So they're playing a later approach into the game, which is fine. You're able to stay away from the other teams, let them cancel each other, and maybe try to steal away a couple of elimination points from afar later on. But so far, based on their position, there's not that opportunity yet presented to them. But we'll see what happens in phase 3.
AGG, great terrain in their hands to play with, southern side. AGG is an interesting team, if you ask me. I mean, when you look at AGG, it's all about like, okay, they're great in terms of firepower, they're great in terms of fights, but they tend to get picked off one by one, which is not the best scenario to be in. And, you know, I thought, okay, when you have already one player knocked down, you want to kind of change your protocols on how you approach these fights to play off each other's survivability as well. But sometimes it feels a little, I'm not sure whether it's panic, break in communication, but it feels like they're just forced into these fights where heroics are forced to happen right now. I would love to see them go a little bit more further as well in terms of how they play, but this time around they're playing in a little bit more better. I think I like their position right now on the top of the terrain. They're playing as a 4, which is huge in my opinion, but at the same time, you know, I don't know. I think that I want to see a little bit more. I mean, yeah, if they're capable of heroics, they can go a little bit more of a 2-2 formation, go a bit more active, take up a little bit more space just to deny teams their space. But at the end of the day, I think they're understanding that they want to play together and play off each other might be the strength, or rather the strategy that they want to adopt. But when I look at E Arena, in contrast, right now they have you know, Sizzy and Jacob hunkered down in a compound, and then Nurens and Larix have been kind of just walking and moving around so many big parts of the circle without fear at all. And I'm surprised that they haven't been punished for this kind of play.
I know, right? Like using the glider earlier on as well, just to scout things out. A couple of shots onto them, onto Larix especially, but like what you said, he's not punished at all. So he's having the free reign roam on top. And look at this, he's still doing exactly that, still scouting the area. Circle continues to go up north. E Arena, easy entry from the left side thanks to Larix doing all the scouting work. I mean, might look easy, but actually it's a very dangerous move. But yet, like what you said, he's not punished at all. And that's what he will continue to do.
Because Nurens has held on to that compound for quite some time, all the other 2 Arena players just has to just rotate into the area. And on top of that, because Larix has scouted the entirety of that western side of the circle, it should be not too hard for E Arena to rotate in. In fact, if I'm looking at the feed right now, they're not looking to play inside the compound together with Nurens. They decided, okay, we have a lot of space here before the blue zone kind of reaches us. Let's kind of inhabit that high ground outside the circle. We've seen this happen in map 2, and they're just adopting that same style, same approach onto this map as well. Nurens into the compound, he can play that first contact if he wants to. As the rest of E Arena, they have high ground, they can provide that cover fire, which is huge. But if anything right now, it's still a lot of fights happening with this middle side here. Decimate, hunkered down. They have a terrain to work with. They have compounds as well. They're putting in a lot of pressure to TE. But it's not just them putting that pressure in. It's Happy Squad as well. Despite the fact that Happy Squad lost 2 players fairly early, they've done a phenomenal job making sure that they have these points put into their pocket to make sure that in terms of consistency, they're still very much there. But TE, because they're out there in the open with no cover, no space to work with, they're just getting sandwiched by so many different teams. And unfortunately for them, they're losing so many players.
Yeah, drop out like flies. When the matter of fact is that they are chasing E Arena, but now we only one player for the expendable. It's going to be pretty difficult for them to chase E Arena. And Doesn't help that the fact that E-Arena is playing again another very safe approach in this round. And whatever brings them the points, as long as they are able to survive above those teams below them, objective secured. And even Daytrade Gaming, only 2 players left right now. So E-Arena, they can continue to stretch their lead.
Chiwa. Pretty sure they're so aware that T5 is close at the very least. A bit more of a quiet game, but they were the team to overwhelm just now in their initial fight, so this is huge. At the very least here, it's Trick that was able to pull off these insane heroics. Out there in the open, through the smoke sprays, eats a lot of damage from that nade coming in from Rossi, so forced to move away, forced to go for that reset. Fine. For the rest of Theroton, great. They can finally kind of find their way into that circle. A lot of space made as well, but Chiwa, all they're doing is just retreating a little bit, but not gonna give it a whole mile at the very least. They're still shooting back.
Comes Rosie did, trying to land that shot across, but not able to get a good clear shot. At the
What a
same time,
shot!
Himas gets Trick. Okay, interesting. Well, it's from Himas, so I guess there's a certain level of expectation that he's able to pull off something like that. But what kind of circle are we going to pull off now? So we're going to get an okay circle. A lot of teams within this one. And again, our top contender, E-Arena, they're being chilling on the left.
Take their time to get into the circle. The same thing, I think, how they approach the maps, not too different from any other. Ranger X will be the one to get a lot of damage in, but Himas taking full control of this entire chaos. It's Himas that rushes up forward. Third parties even. Very, very patient from them and somehow managing to steal away some kills. So Chiwa, because they've been sandwiched between T5 as well as AGG, not able to hold on. And AGG, they're saying, okay, we've done our job here. We don't necessarily have to take this fight against T5. We have terrains. T5 has to push up to us to get into that circle.
And now speaking about push, T5 is doing exactly that, but they have to face off against AG Global on the right, who is waiting to do the same thing. While we wait for that to happen, we shift forward to the northern side. Savage Man Esports now have FW in front of them. FW not within the circle at all. Lucky J tapping away, almost getting that knock. He was close.
X-Men this time, they've actually conceded a lot of space, if you ask me, opting to play up to the northern side here, which actually forces a fight with FW, and I'm guessing that's why they decided to go up here to the northern side. They want to play together here to be able to just quickly overwhelm FW. Six sacks, we've seen huge, massive, big plays from him, but at the same time, it's always in a situation where he's not being able to trade off for. Lucky G, this time, he was the big man on map number 1, putting in a lot of damage from the rest of the team. His position is a little bit more out there in the open, so very aware. It's all about that reposition. He does just that, goes in for a bit of cover as well. So his teammate is in the other compound on their side, so if anything were to happen, they can collapse to him if they want to. They can go for crossfires. You up Chen on the outer side as well. So 6x close, FL coming forward. This could become potentially a 3-way fight if they decide to stop. No, it's gonna be Flash. FL is in trouble right now. BNet knocked out. It's gonna be Sharper Esports. This is the first seed from PUBG Thailand who's able to just completely overwhelm. Tego is looking great for them. Great opening. One player eating that nade. No knocks quite yet as Lucky G quick to reposition. Putting in a lot of damage, a lot of noise as well. Despite the first initial pickoffs as well as the damage, he still rushes forward, he still throws in the util, and it's all back to that reposition for that reset.
FW Esports, they continue to come in to this area to challenge.
Nice angle.
Savage Man Esports. Gunfire from the top. JK gets Savior. Okay, now
check your
they will continue on.
corners.
Lucky J gets one, but Lucky J gets traded back instead. 6x comes in to take them all out and win back this compound for himself.
It's just one massive situation where it's just so unlucky. That guy just wasn't able to check that corner yet, and he takes full control of that, being able to revive his teammate as well. That's a huge dub coming forward. And on top of that as well, they're still very much inside the confines of that circle, so it's massive. But for the X-Men right now, they're looking to take this fight against SW. One player knocked out is Savior. At the same time, I see a lot of pressure put in by E-Arena as well. E-Arena does what they do best here. Just try to put their hands in the cookie jar when it's not their fight to be fighting. But right now, FW inside the compound. Oliver staying fairly safe. Quick spray to the face, but that high ground, little bit of the elevation gives Banana One a little bit of value in terms of that headshot. So Oliver not able to hold on. And all they have to do is just spray the heck out of him just to secure those points. And they do that. Suddenly, every single good thing, every single advantage that X-Men had, gone.
Yeah, now it's only Upchen left for Savage Man Esports. How is he going to get out of this situation? At the same time, look at this. E-Arena, Jacob looking down onto this compound, looking to take away some cheeky shots just to see if he can get any eliminations out of this. And FW, they move further forward. They try to chase down Upchen. And Upchen tries to get away as far as possible. Well, we move over to Team Flash right now. They're in the fight to get into the circle against TDT.
Quick reposition as well. Now, looking at where they are, they're still outside of the circle. They need to take this fight against TDT. They don't have numbers advantage. They don't have positioning either. Trains, yeah, they can play off that, but right now, looking at the rest of TDT, they're looking to just completely crunch, but the same could be said about FW. Rush forward! What the heck is happening right now? That's rough. Even managing to knock off his teammate at the same time, that is unlucky. They still survived though, but the Expendables this time around, 11th place. Not the usual Expendables play, but in this situation, so many fights happening at the same time, not the easiest rotations ever to come through as TDT couches up forward here. K-Sama will get down. Huang F, huge, big pick off, and that is the crunch that I was talking about here. They position themselves in a 2-2 with the other two coming in from the backside. A lot of noise made as well. K-Sama taken away there from FW. Massive. As you see the FW there, they're all the way to the northern side. All they're doing right now is just waiting for fights to happen and stealing away kills as AGG as well decides to join into that fight. But somehow, Himas gets knocked down by Happy and they're all the way inside of the circle. As long as happy to oblige and say, okay, thank you for the knockdown. I'm happy to take these kills. I'm happy to take these free points that you've given me, Happy Squad.
Oh, but now with the points collected, they still need to get into the circle. Zone is behind them, closing in. And here's Long X taking a lot of damage. 12 health left. Needs to take his time to heal up, and he will do exactly just that. While his opponent for FW coming in. Okay, has the high guard advantage with AUG in hand, looking for the right opportunity, but lucky for him, managed to evade the Panzer.
Long X finally knocked down. He's done a lot of damage if you think about it. He's been surviving for so long, stealing away kills, putting in damage to so many teams that's rotating into the circle. It's definitely been an annoyance for teams such as AGG and TDT as well. As FW, they're still high up there on their laurels, happy to hold in the terrain. Not for long though, as the circle will pull in here. It's Sharper Esports that kind of wins it in the end, but E-Arena close by as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a 4v4 between these two teams. As Sharper Jedi, wow, here he's found himself a banana to shoot at, but somehow Banana 1 still shoots back, still surviving, still very happy.
Yeah, you can see that again. He found himself a banana to shoot at. Yeah, save the fruits, people. Anyway, for T5, they have to save themselves to get into the circle. Their next opponent is potentially going to be E-Arena on the left side, but a lot more action is expected on the right. A lot more teams there as FW comes in. They're going to share the same area as Jedi for Sharper Esports.
Experience here as Jedi will pay for his life. You take one kill, great, but FW answered back here, looking to how they've been playing right now. They're on the northern side earlier. They just completely collapsed into that northern side of the circle. And knowing the positioning where Sharper Esports were, they took advantage that they're not by a 4. Larix falls, Earth to find 1 at the very least, but the rest of Sharper, they can hold on. Thunder is knocked down, Larix as well from E-Arena, and suddenly everyone is not in the best positions to be in here as the circle kind of shrinks up forward. Earth, Zapalui as well as KM99, the last 2 players left from Sharper Esports just now, despite the great stellar start as well as their positionings here as everyone collapses forward. These 4-5 wave fights happening right now. DCM gets knocked, AGG, E-Arena as well. Everyone is in a very, very precarious situation and precarious fights as well, because these fights in this small area with these terrains are not favoring anyone in the middle.
Well, it's a rare occasion that E-Arena eliminated without any points at all by Sharper Esports. 8 points collected so far through eliminations, and they're looking for more. FW raised from the other side, tries to take out the remaining members of Sharper Esports. Yeah, Sapalui just right by him with 40% of health. But Patapol from the other side, also putting back pressure onto Decimate Gaming from afar, taking out Flood.
And all of this is happening toward the eastern side of the circle here. Banana 1, I'm surprised that he's able to survive this long. Circle pushing onto the backside of him, and he was facing about 2-3 different players. But he's managed to survive just alone here. A lot of awareness on how exactly he wants to play the game as well. But here's Umpat, our Seoul Malaysian representative, I believe. Managing to find one for himself, so that's massive. There finds Tanadol. 2 players left for DCM. Fairly quiet day for them, but still, they still have to worry about Tigger from day trading. They still have to worry about the other 2 members from Happy. And Happy, they've been kind of aggressive. They've been huge in terms of just holding on to that terrain inside of the circle, stopping anyone from rotating inside. Yeah, they lose 2 players in that process, but they're still very much a threat here as Tigger in the blue zone decides to slow down a little bit. Perhaps already heard the sounds done by DCM as well, but time is definitely not on his side here.
He does have 2 first aids though. He's gonna pop the first one. But he knows that DCM is waiting for him in front. But the ball shows that, Tigger, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And the point will go to T5 thanks to Patapong and his Mini 14.
Top 4 already. 2 teams with 4 players still very much alive. FW, they've been all just been third partying, waiting for the right moment, putting in pressure, and only that. They have not given up that northern side terrain they've been holding up for some time. Cute vehicle they have in their hands as well, as bots probably tried to steal away a few kills from them. Not able to quite yet, given the amount of players from the teams other there. So if anything, they need to push into the circle. They don't have firepower, they don't have terrain, and they definitely do not have man advantage.
Oh, down to the top 4 teams here. FW and T5. Liverpool squad going up against 2 from Happy Squad. And Decimate Gaming only 2 as well. Circle does favor T5 at this moment. And T5, they need to manage Decimate Gaming, who wants to hike up to the high ground. But behind them is going to be Arjun Bots from Happy Squad. Here will be a nade, lobbed across, but nobody is home.
DCM, nice push-pull as well. They have Monty rushing out forward. As soon as he takes that damage, he says, okay, let's reconvene, play with my teammates instead. Don't want to be isolated quite yet. Not showing out their hand either. I think Happy is kind of like looking around here. Where exactly did these 2 players go here right now? As Monty, the only thing he has in advantage right now is that little tiny terrain, the side of that hill. That tiny hill has a bit of a tree line to work with at the same time. So Happy this time, instead of taking these fights, they want to go up north. Now my question is, are they aware that FW is up there? Banana with that first contact could be huge as well, but they have layers upon layers in terms of how they fight here. They have 3 players right behind, and look at those first shots there, taking a lot of damage here. It will be bots finally knocked down here. It would be the blue zone. And I think he just wants to deny those points, just stay away, go down to that zone.
Yeah, and that's going to be the case because he knows that he can't survive anyway. Attention continues to survive for his team. So far, he's able to jump around, but he failed to land that final blow on his opponent. Anyway, Happy Squad, still a decent round for them. Number 4 eliminated.
Down to top 3 right now as Monty does get found out at the very end there. Still, we have Umpat very much alive right now. But the amount of space T5 is holding is concerning to me. They have a full control of that southern side, and Rossited putting in a lot of pressure to Banana One. I have to say, I'm quite surprised that Banana One is still surviving, still holding on here. He's been playing solo at his own volition here. His teammates are all the way in the backside, no trades, nothing left. If anything, he's been the guy that everyone has their eye on. And I think it's great, because if he buys a lot of time for his teammates, they could go in for that collapse. As Ranger X, he knows exactly where Umpat is. Quick reposition as well. T5 not looking to get isolated. The only thing that he has in his arsenal right now is perhaps his terrain, but as the double swing comes out here, too many eyes to look at him. He plays down, plows down, in fact, as Ranger X, quick to find him in the end. So DCM, a great ending, or a better ending compared to the last 2 maps here, but the sprays from Ranger X, not that quite yet then. It's Fluky, finds Banana One, and the rest of FW looking to collapse onto the other members of T5. So close, side by side right now. Fluky huge, Tonke falls, as Fluky still does shoot back here. Both teams taking heavy damage. It's all about the member who's ever able to survive at the end is going to be T5 that gets the 3rd chicken dinner.
And towards the end, T5 with again another round that they had the terrain advantage, and they also had the numbers against FW. FW, they had to cross the road. The moment they did that, yes, they crossed. But the moment they arrived, T5 was right on top of them to finish them off to score their chicken dinner. While we check out the highlights from the previous round, and a lot more early fights this time. One of them involving Cerberus Esports, but unfortunately for them, before we were able even to see the first circle, they got eliminated.
Yeah, I think it's great as well when you look at these early fights at the very least. I think, if anything, they're understanding that this is going to be the only Tego of the day. So they can take full control of the situation, go a little bit more aggressive. It wasn't really hop drops if you're looking at it. I mean, Sharper Esports as well as as well as Cerberus did kind of in fact have the same drop spots. If anything, it's just about trying to find out who will win that first initial fight first. WDG rotated over to Palace, so if anything, Happy was the one to fully take them out in the end as well. Now coming into the rest of this game, I think for today it's all about that kind of like adapting to these rotations, and it's all that northern side. Most of these early fights, or not early fights, but rather these rotating fights happen because there is that body of water in the middle of the map as well, which means that everyone had to cross with the bridge in order to, I think, safely get across. Happy Squad took a lot of damage trying to play that bridge troll, trying to be able to stop people from rotating into the circle. But if anything, it gave them a lot of pickoffs as well. So for Happy Squad, it's massive how they're able to do that.
Yeah, and for a lot of teams on the right side, this was one of those moments. It was quite interesting, but yeah, at least no one was a sacrifice on their own teammate side, and they still able to win that compound away. Right, and if we were to look at this current phase of the circle, where it's already space 6, at this moment, the teams are well spread out. For E-Arena, because of that spread, they got sandwiched between two teams and they couldn't survive this. And even though as long as they survived this round, they stayed out of trouble, but towards phase number 6, when there were like two teams, one in front, one behind, they couldn't handle it and they still went out at number 9. So as much as they did earlier on, no points collected by E-Arena this round.
Yeah, DCM, I think this is a much better ending for them, but no heroics this time in this 1v3, but it doesn't really matter though when you look at it. But anyways, I was looking at a match statistic a little bit just now. You know, despite the fact that Happy Squad was a little bit early in terms of the elimination, they were the highest amount of damage that they were a team that did the highest amount of damage this particular game as well. And I think it's so interesting when you think about it. And I have to say, it must be because they were playing that bridge troll. Anyone crossing over, they spray, they get the pickoffs. That's huge. But enough about that, because it's T5's moment right now. They were the team to get those chicken dinners. Getting that 11 total kills is huge. Now, in terms of total damage, I wouldn't say it's like the highest in terms of damage we've seen so far. But if anything, they are prioritizing, again, that positioning. And their fights are happening because of teams trying to rotate into the circle, rotate into that area, and they're very patient on how exactly they want to approach these fights as well. I'm seeing nice little crossfires come through. I'm seeing immediate trade-offs as well. So T5, I think in terms of team chemistry, it looks great right now. Patampong, I have to say, in terms of damage, in terms of how he plays with his team, 35%, yeah, it's huge, but at the same time, this is a team that tends to play together. It's such a stark contrast to when you look at teams such as Sharper Esports and E-Arena, who prefer like maybe a 2-2 formation or a 1-1-2 formation. This team decides to play together as a squad.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? It is at least it is at the end of the day a team game, and they work well towards the end. It's apparent by the fact that they remain all for their players at the very final moment, and that's got them the chicken dinner with 21 points collected by T5. Followed by FW, 17 points with a lot of eliminations as well. That's going to be 11 kills for FW, pretty well doing this round. And Happy Squad coming in with 11 points, double-digit club. Happy Squad, another struggling team at the bottom, able to bring in this amount of points. Now it's a matter of how consistent can they be throughout the rest of this tournament.
Loving the fact that for Chiwa this time around, they do have that one, one moment where they're able to overwhelm one singular team, gives them 4 points. It's a lot more different. It's not enough to really boost them out forward, but it's still progress, in my opinion, to see this team just, being able to win these 4v4s. Perhaps a little bit slower in terms of how they want to play, but again, this is a team that came in as the invited team from Masters. Now, coming out forward here, yes, E-Arena did manage to make that triple digit, but it was only 1 point they were able to get here, giving themselves 100 points here. As T5, because of their stellar performance, manages to push themselves up to second place. I mean, E-Arena, one thing, even though they have moments where they're not able to really go up forward or go out a little bit early with only 1 point, I think they have a big cushion that they've given themselves, that room for error as well, in case they're able, that they are knocked out a little bit early. So I think they're very, very much definitely in the green right now in terms of how they play. But I love the fact that in that particular game, we're seeing a lot of teams that struggled on Miramar, not necessarily awake quite yet, show us what they have in their pockets in terms of potential as well. I'm talking about DCM. For me personally, this is my day 1 on this desk. I was a little bit concerned. It was a little bit more of a quiet day for them, quiet game for them. But they did show that they're definitely not out yet, despite the slower Miramar.
Yeah, but we still have a lot more games to go, right? So they can they can still make big comebacks, who knows? Because they did show a good potential in day number 1. Maybe a slower start on day number 2, but hey, we still have the second half of the day to go. Before we head on to the second half, we'll be taking a break, ladies and gentlemen, so do not go anywhere. We'll see you guys after this one.
8 years of Battlegrounds bliss. Updates to several arcade modes. And a new Survivor Pass. All this and more as we dive into the Update 34.2 patch report. First up, we're celebrating 8 glorious years of Battle Royale mayhem. You'll find anniversary decorations across the various maps and on some of PUBG's most iconic objects and locations, including care packages, energy drinks, the plane, and various locations across Erangel. The starting island also features an 8th anniversary BobbleBot statue with special golden grenades to throw at it to see your name up in lights. We're even collaborating with M83 for a brand new BGM track for the anniversary. This milestone wouldn't be possible without your dedication throughout the years. So on behalf of the entire PUBG Battlegrounds team, thank you for 8 wonderfully chaotic years. And speaking of your dedication, thanks to your testing, we were able to make some meaningful adjustments to the aim punch settings following the Gunplay Labs aim punch we ran in January. We're now planning on a second round of Gunplay Labs in March to test the new settings, so stay tuned for details. Next up, the arcade is getting a couple of adjustments. Team Deathmatch has several new maps to enjoy, including Destin Arena, Vikendi Train Station, and Sanhok Camp Bravo. We've also adjusted map selection probabilities, added destruction to Sanhok, and changed up the spawn kit. For Intense Battle Royale, the layout of safe zones, supply drops, and vehicles are now random in all maps. The starting Molotov has been swapped to a frag grenade, a random LMG crate has been added, and we've activated destruction on Sanhok. For fans of custom matches, you can now bring in 100 people, up from the previous 24. Last but not least, we're reverting the max player count for Hot Drop back up to 64 players for even more intense action, while also slightly lowering the atom spawn rate. You can check out full details on all these changes in the patch notes. There's also a brand new Survivor Pass available to collect, as well as various bug fixes, so be sure to check out the patch notes for full details on everything. Update 34.2 is here. So put on your party hat, grab a golden grenade, and hit up the arcade. Happy 8th anniversary, PUBG fans. We'll see you on the Battlegrounds.
one. Shuts down the Sonic Stream. That one big gets on board of them. Absolutely crazy moment.
Mày chậu cây, mày chậu cây. Mày chậu cây, mày chậu cây. Mày chậu cây, mày chậu cây. Mày chậu cây, mày chậu. 喂，你聽住，我就講我錯過嘅機遇，成嚿叉燒包到埋口，叫做兩口，打一打就咬唔住。同你講句 sorry 咯，我對唔住，我想瞓對手，想份復習，個身份最好嘅要出盡力對不對你輸。人生最寶貴一堂，公司唔係你學堂，簽咗份約將你捆綁，又唔出呢個節堂，乜嘢係好嘅時機？再諗一陣先，機會就不翼而飛。機會嚟啦咪就雞，機會嚟啦咪就雞，錯過咗喊到無謂，錯過咗喊到無謂。機會嚟啦咪就雞，機會嚟啦咪就雞，錯過咗今日一世，錯過咗今日一世。咪就雞，到你就 chicken 啦，咪就雞，咪就雞，不能錯過。咪就雞，咪就雞，咪就雞，咪就雞。咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走，咪走，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走，咪走，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走，咪走。咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走，咪走。把握機會咪走雞，機會咪出嚟。惡下睇漏眼仲喊都無能為力。睇下邊個得戚，睇下邊個心息。偷雞唔成蝕把米被發現痕跡。成日發夢要點樣出色，其實努力有幾多得益？看風使盡你係唔知醜嘅圖蹟。我戥你努力唔抵，你衰咗冇得唔計。感知但係有人好運有人無計。機會嚟啦咪就雞，機會嚟啦咪就雞，錯過咗喊到無謂，錯過咗喊到無謂。機會嚟啦咪就雞，機會嚟啦咪就雞，錯過咗今日一世，錯過咗今日一世。咪就雞，到你就 chicken 啦，咪就雞，咪就雞，不能錯過。咪就雞，咪就雞。咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走，咪走，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞，咪走雞。
Welcome back, everyone. This is the PGS APAC Qualifiers 2025 phase number 1. I'm Tash, but alongside Sir Clout, your casters for today. We've seen Tego, we've seen Miramars, and after this, we have 3 more maps to go. And I'm super excited because today, well, it is day number 2. Everyone seems to have stepped up their game comparing day 1, and today it's been a whole different ballpark.
Oh yeah. We start to see like teams on the middle pack and at the second half of the overall starting to rise up. And even like a Happy Squad got a decent round early on. We even saw Savage Man Esports got a good round in one of the Miramar matches. And there's so much that happened earlier on as